Okay, let's think about this for a second. You're at home, maybe not feeling great, or perhaps you're looking after someone, like a parent who needs that bit of extra help. And then suddenly something happens, something unexpected. And you realize, okay, I need help and I need it now. For almost everyone, the immediate thought is grab the phone, dial 911. Simple, right. But what if that connection, that absolute lifeline, isn't quite there? What if it flickers? Today, we're doing a deep dive into exactly that scenario, a recent intermittent 911 outage that hit Pennsylvania. We're pulling our details mainly from a Fox News article from July 11, 2025. It's called Pennsylvania's Intermittent 9/11 Outage and Resolution Efforts. So our goal here, our mission for this deep dive, is really to unpack what went down, what actually happened, and maybe more importantly, what can we learn from it about how emergency systems hold up, and the kind of unique problems this creates, especially for people who might be more vulnerable, like, say, home care patients. It's a really crucial case study, I think, on what happens when, the unexpected hits our critical infrastructure.
Indeed. And we're not just looking at the technical details of the outage itself. We want to explore the so what. For you, the listener, how does something like this actually impact getting help when you really need it? And what are the bigger lessons here about being prepared, particularly if you or someone you care for might have, say, limited mobility or rely on others?
Okay, right. Let's dig into the timeline then. So the first official word came from PEMA. That's the Pennsylvania Emergency Management Agency. This was Friday, July 11th. And they reported a, quote, statewide intermittent 911 outage. Now, key word there, intermittent. It wasn't like everything just died. But the trouble started apparently around 2 p.m. Some calls were hitting a wall, basically. Complete service interruption. You dial 911, maybe try again, and nothing. No connection to the dispatch or the PS state. And PEMA Director Randy Padfield really stressed that intermittent aspect. It wasn't every call everywhere.
Yeah. And that word intermittent is so important here. It sounds less severe than a total blackout, maybe. But in an emergency, it's almost more insidious. Think about it from the perspective of, say, a home care patient. Maybe they've fallen, or there's a sudden medical issue. Their window to call for help might be tiny. If the system is just sometimes failing, how do you know? You might dial, think it's ringing, but it's not connecting. That intermittent failure could be absolutely catastrophic. It creates this false sense of security almost. And frankly, intermittent problems can be tougher to diagnose and manage behind the scenes than a full system crash because they're unpredictable.
That makes sense. And it was clearly serious enough because PEMA officials pushed out a statewide alert. They said it was out of an abundance of caution once they realized multiple counties were seeing these issues. So they see the problem, alerts are going out. What's the immediate reaction from PEMA? What's their playbook? Well, the article says their 9/11 team jumped on it right away, started digging to, quote, identify the root cause. And they did something interesting, set up a conference bridge line, basically connecting all the dispatch centers, the PSAPs across the state.
Right, and that conference bridge, that's fascinating from a coordination perspective. It shows how these emergency systems try to get everyone on the same page fast when there's a crisis. Real-time info sharing. But, and this is a really big but, it immediately makes you think, okay, how does that information, that operational picture, actually filter down? How does it reach the individual citizen? Especially someone who might be isolated, dependent on others, maybe doesn't have easy access to constant updates. Think about home care patients again. Are they glued to social media feeds during a medical emergency? Probably not.
That's a huge point. And because it wasn't just one or two counties, right? Because it was widespread and they didn't immediately know why, that's when they triggered the bigger alerts. The wireless emergency alert, that's the WBA system, and the emergency alert system, the EAS. Those are the ones that buzz your phone or interrupt broadcasts direct to the public. Okay, now this next part. This is really important for anyone who might find themselves needing help, especially thinking about our home care patients. PEMA Director Padfield gave some very specific advice. He said, look, most calls are still getting through. So, number one, keep calling 911 if you have an actual emergency. Don't hesitate. But, and this is the critical backup if that call doesn't connect, then you need to try the backup plan. Use the specific 7-digit administrative line for your local emergency services, or follow whatever instructions your local 911 center or PSC puts out. He also specifically said, check your county social media pages, check their websites for that local info. It underlines that need for multiple ways to get emergency information.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And connecting that back to the home care context, or really anyone with specific needs, this just screams pre-planning. It's absolutely vital because you have to ask, realistically, in the heat of the moment, maybe someone's having trouble breathing, or they're dealing with cognitive impairment, or they physically can't move easily. How easy is it then to suddenly have to find a specific 7-digit number
Hmm.
or navigate to a county website or social media feed? It really drives home why having those alternative numbers, those backup communication methods, needs to be sorted out beforehand. Maybe written down, stuck on the fridge, programmed into a speed dial,
Yeah.
empowering the patient, empowering the caregiver. It's about having those concrete steps ready to go.
Absolutely. And PEMA had one more urgent plea, a really important one. Do not call 911 just to see if it's working. Don't test the system. Because every one of those test calls, it gets logged as an abandoned call. And the 911 centers are obligated to investigate those. They have to follow up, which of course ties up dispatchers and phone lines they desperately need for real emergencies.
Yeah, that public cooperation piece is just crucial when the system is already under strain. Every moment a dispatcher spends checking on a non-emergency test call is a moment they aren't available for a genuine crisis. And for someone like a home care patient where literally every second might count, having that line clear, having those resources instantly available, well, following the don't test advice isn't just being helpful, it could quite literally be a matter of life and death for someone else.
Padfield did also talk about the system itself, the next-gen 911 system they use. He mentioned it has a tremendous amount of redundancy built in. Just for context, next-gen 911, that's the newer internet protocol-based system. It's designed to be more robust, handle calls better, even potentially take things like text or video in the future. And he pointed out, look, the system has performed flawlessly during lots of other major events, like severe weather. He framed this specific incident as more of an anomaly.
Which brings up another key point, doesn't it?
Mhm.
Even with really robust systems designed with multiple backups with redundancy, anomalies happen. Things go wrong in unexpected ways. So while it might be an anomaly, it's a powerful reminder that no system is perfect. There's always a potential weak link, something unforeseen. And when that happens in critical infrastructure like 9/11, the impact can be huge, especially, again, for vulnerable groups. For home care patients with complex needs, any disruption, any anomaly, however rare, carries significant, potentially life-threatening risks.
Hmm.
It really forces us to constantly reevaluate what fail-safe actually means.
Yeah, a sobering thought. And just to round out the official response, Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro also weighed in briefly. He posted on X saying he'd been briefed by PEMA, urged everyone to stay calm, listen to PEMA and their local authorities, and again, reiterated, only call 911 for real emergencies.
Which just underscores the seriousness from the top, right?
Yeah.
And reinforces how vital it is for the public to follow those official instructions.
Yeah.
It's about collective safety, especially protecting those who might be most at risk during a disruption like this.
Okay, so let's sort of wrap up the key points from this deep dive into the Pennsylvania outage. We saw an intermittent disruption to 911 service. Officials acted quickly, putting out alerts and, crucially, providing specific backup instructions. Keep trying 911 first, but have that local admin line ready. Check local sources. And that strong message, please don't test the system. And while, yes, most calls were still getting through, this whole event is just such a stark reminder that being prepared is non-negotiable. Especially if you're in a situation like providing or receiving home care where time is absolutely of the essence. Seconds can make all the difference.
Absolutely. And I think this deep dive into what they called a system anomaly leaves us with a really important thought. Even with the best, most robust infrastructure, the kind designed for the worst-case scenarios, having your own plan B, your personal emergency communication strategy, is vital. This is especially true for anyone receiving home care, or maybe you're supporting family members who do. That personal plan can be just as critical as the 911 system itself. So the question to reflect on is, what steps can you take right now to make sure you have multiple ways to call for help, multiple lines of communication open and clearly understood, just in case you face a crisis?